Well, good morning, everyone. Thanks for the introduction, Mike. As he said, my name is Emily Ellison. I'm the Chief HR Officer, and I'm joined today by Kate Schum, HR Compliance Manager and Licensing Guru. And Trish didn't know it, but it's almost like we coordinated efforts because the activity of pointing and doing the opposite thing and saying the opposite thing is sort of how we feel when we talk about licensing and try to unravel all of it. So I imagine you probably feel the same way, so you're ready for that conversation. We really appreciate and are thankful for time to be here today because we know there is a lot of information and misinformation and questions and rumors about changes that are coming in licensure K-12. And while we don't have all the information today, NDE is still working out a lot of the details, we wanted to share what we do know today because we know that you're already thinking about next year and you're probably already working on master schedules. And we want to help make sure that you know what potential impacts there are to those kinds of processes and what kind of reporting changes you can expect moving forward, and to assure you that we are working diligently almost every day with the Department of Education to advocate for our teachers and to help them understand the potential impact of those changes and to figure out the best way to roll those changes out. So we will keep you posted. As we know more, we will definitely fill in the blanks. But like I said, we wanted to share what we know today so that you can be thinking about that as you're planning for next year. And please come visit us during the lunch break if you have questions that we can help with. We've got a lot of other members from our team here. Happy to support you in whatever way we can. And with that, I'm going to turn it over to Kate.
Good morning, everyone. Like Emily said, I'm Kate, and I probably have spoken to a lot of you about licensing. So I'm here to give a quick overview as to what we're expecting coming forward. Maybe. There it goes. Okay, so this slide is to show you the current structure on the left, what licenses currently exist. There's the K-8 license, the 712, single subject, and a 7-9 single subject, which we don't see too terribly often, but it does exist out there. Currently, what that K-8 license can teach is anything from from kindergarten through 8th grade, regardless if it's a middle school or an elementary school. What they're proposing is changing that license to be a K-5. So it's going to be aligned with that model that we're moving to with our schools being K-5, 6-8, and 9-12. Essentially, NDE is also looking at changing the licensure to be the same way. For elementary, that K-8 to a K-5, you're not going to see an impact. That 7-9 is going to change, we believe, to be a 6-8. So right now, that 7-9 can teach 6th grade to 9th grade. It's looking like they are going to change it to be a 6-8 only. And then the same thing at that secondary level. So I've always been able to have my 7-12 teachers teach down to 6th grade. This will stop that essentially and only allow that 9-12 license to be at the high school level. So it's a little bit crazy. We're not anticipating any other licensure changes. So I had a question the other day from counseling if they're going to break counseling apart. There's been no indication through the Commission on Professional Standards in our discussions with NDE that that is going to happen. So the generalist, the counselor, K-12 PE, music, those should all stay the same as far as we're expecting at this point. Some other things, we haven't been able to get definitive answers on what that 6th grade is going to look like in the elementary school or in the high school. So we are working with NDE on that. As of now, we are going to proceed status quo. So if you have a teacher with a K-8 and you're interested in them for a middle school, we're not going to tell you that they can't do that. So for now, until we get guidance, it's going to be status quo. On my next slide, are you guys good? I'll be upstairs, so if you guys have specific questions, I'll be there so you can come ask. So this one is another really big one. Some of you may be aware we have an option to do what we call out of field a teacher or OOF a teacher. You'll hear us say commonly. This is a slight change. We've been able to do it for the full day. We'll still be able to. There was a time frame where they told us no more than half of an assignment could be OOFed. It will now be the whole assignment that can be OOFed. Where I seem to be seeing this more often than not is the individual elective courses. that we're just trying to plug a teacher in, or we're short in a, I don't know, a computer or science class, and we're plugging in somebody who's interested or willing to do it, but the licensure doesn't align. These teachers that pick up an assignment which they're not properly licensed for, I can justify to the state for up to 3 years that they stay in that assignment. They'll be expected to work on getting that license. My team and I will work with them on that and do check-ins with them on a regular basis. The OOF agreement can be a couple of different things. It can be coursework. They are missing, let's say, 6 credits or 12 credits in that subject that they're interested in. Or it could be as simple as missing a praxis exam, which we'll talk about a little bit more because it's pretty exciting news. 1 period is considered out of field. So as you guys know, in the fall I typically do a state report and I ask you to verify that these teachers are teaching exactly this, and I pull the information and we say yes, no, they're teaching 3 periods of math and 3 periods of science, and we update and report it to the state. We'll catch those 1 periods in that process. What I'd like you to do is, if you have that, to reach out to us and ask, hey, I've got a teacher, I've got this class, what would be the best licensure? As we as a district are moving much faster than the Department of Ed in licensure, give us a heads up if you have kind of a class that's a little bit different. We had a class last spring that somebody came to us and it was for drones. The state has nothing in their correlation directory about drones. So we were reaching out to them and working with the administration. How do we find a teacher qualified to teach a subject that the state has no idea even exists in our district? So that's a constant battle. The more you can loop us in, we can help make sure we're not going to get a kickback going forward from the state on the reporting side of it. So we're definitely here to partner with you on that. Required notification to parents. So if you have a teacher not fully licensed or fully certified teaching at one of our Title I or underperforming schools, we need to notify those teachers. My team has a letter, so if we need to do that, we absolutely can work with you to get that letter out. The areas for oofing, this is a really big one. I cannot put somebody on an out-of-field plan to the elementary level. So if you have a teacher who's a 7-12 math teacher and they really want to start teaching kindergarten, I'm going to tell you no until it's already on their license. But if it's a single subject at the middle school or high school, I can do it for those students. So that you guys kind of have an idea of what the OOF process entails, we will contact them from licensing, ask them to come meet with us, sign an agreement that says they are going to work towards that licensure, and then we'll share it with you as the administrator so you're fully aware of that. This is imperative to the support for that teacher when they know that you're aware that they're taking coursework or doing something additional to get that license, proper license to teach that subject. Okay. I was like, what's wrong? All right, so adding endorsements. This part is super exciting when we're talking about that conversion from a K-8 to a 6-7-8 and then a 9-12. Previously, in order to add an additional endorsement, the Department of Ed was only willing to consider it if you had satisfied 30 to 36 additional credits to earn that endorsement. They have now changed it that you can praxis on subjects. So if I have a 7-12 English and I want to teach science, I can simply take the content area exam for secondary science and have that added onto my license. This is a huge, huge great news for us because we're not so stuck and asking so much of those teachers to additionally take that much additional coursework. They can just take that praxis exam. There are some limitations. You can only praxis up, so to speak. So if I have a K-8, I can praxis up everything through 12th grade. If I have a middle school license, I can only praxis into secondary or high school. I can't praxis down. So if I have a 9-12, I can't praxis down to that middle school level or that elementary level. So there's some guidelines, some specifics. You also cannot praxis on special ed. You can praxis out. So if you have a K-12 generalist and you want to teach math in a general ed setting, you can take the praxis for that, but not the opposite way. I'm sure that's probably clear as mud, but it's pretty easy. You can't praxis. Oh, yes, the ARLs cannot praxis on an additional subject. So if you have an ARL candidate or an ARL teacher at your location and they want to change paths or tracks, They cannot do that until we convert that license to a standard license, which is 2 years minimum, just so you guys know. I think that's about the extent of my exciting licensure update.